Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Stacy. Sorry, the last one was really short. I was in the car and I had limited time. I'm going to cut this one at 3 minutes, but look for me posting more videos throughout the day and for tomorrow. So I'm trying to get an eye exam, and they don't like to, Medicaid doesn't pay for almost anybody. And the one place I found that does take my insurance is booking into end of February, early March. My birthday is February 23rd. I need my glasses before my birthday, so that's a real problem. So I've only called 15 places and nobody takes my insurance, but um that's just family drama. And then we're taking care of my mother full time because she can't walk. I mean, how on earth can you bill for 6 weeks of physical therapy? She had a knee replacement, and then her spleen or her gallbladder went bad. They didn't even send her to the hospital. She almost died. They didn't call me when they sent her to the hospital. I went to the hospital, or I'm sorry, I went to the nursing home, and they're like, "Oh, she's not here." I'm like, "What do you mean she's not here? Where is she?" I'm going over some of what happened, and I mean, it's unbelievable. So they've been Hoyer lifting her the whole time. They didn't work on walking, pivoting. She can't get up off the couch. I mean, that's elder abuse. And then on top of it, they're going to bill. I told my mother, dispute the billing. The physical therapist that's coming out to the house thinks he's going to be able to get her to walk, but it's going to take like a month. And he's like, there is no excuse for this. None. He called the nursing home and was like, you said you did physical therapy with this woman? She can't even move her feet. Like, she can't move her feet like up and down or side to side. Like, she can't move her feet at all. But they're charging for physical therapy. We're going to dispute that. I have nothing else to do besides take care of her, and I'm angry. How dare they? And then they send her home. And when we were trying, my husband and I trying to get her in the house, I'm going to be 49 this month. He's in his mid 50s, and she fell. So we had to call non-emergency police to come out, have the fire department come out and get her. We had to drag her the way you drag a dead soldier by her armpits. Like, thank goodness we have hardwood. So we just slid her in. I threw some blankets on her because she was so cold. It was negative 17 out when they sent her home. But due to the drama going on in my own life, I have lots and lots of opinions on the Reiner case because, first of all, there's a gag order. So all this nonsense about his mental health and this and that's coming from two people, Harvey Levin and Mark Garagos. And I like Mark Garagos. I don't really like his daughter. I mean, she's defending the Alexander brothers, who are, it's like Diddy times 3. And they've been doing that nonsense since high school. It's horrible. But anyway, please like, share, subscribe. I will be back later. I got to try to find an eye exam. So I hope everyone's doing good. Please like, share, subscribe. I will be back to talk about the Nick Reiner case. I know Banfield was convicted. I was not particularly watching that case, but I am glad that he was convicted. I mean, that's true. Lures the guy to the house, kills him, and then murders the wife. I'm only kind of disgusted that the au pair, because they needed her to testify, may do no jail time. I mean, she killed someone. I'm glad she testified, but I don't think she should walk. I mean, send her in for 5 years, send her in for 3 years, but to walk, I mean, that's just, I can't even believe that. But my whole thing with the Nick Reiner case is that he was under a conservatorship for a year, and under California law, the only person that can go for a conservatorship is not the family, it's the doctor. Oh, if you guys didn't see, I got my bottom teeth. I hardly ever wear them. I don't like how they feel taking them in and out. But I figured since I was recording and since I have to go out and look for glasses, I actually think I'm going to order them online. I'm running out of time. And I do not, my lenses, I need bifocals and I have astigmatism. My lenses are so ungoshly expensive. I mean, it is crazy. But, yeah, so, I have a lot to say on, I don't think the Reiners had any choice. I mean, their choice is to put their kid on the street, because if you are feeding your child, they do not qualify to get a conservatorship. You literally have to put them on the street, and they have to have no income, no place to stay. And I mean, if they're getting food out of a dumpster, they don't qualify. I understand getting rid of the old asylums, but you can't let someone who's drug addicted and mentally ill, oh, he has a right to refuse medication. Well, he's destroying someone's home. And I get the Reiners probably didn't want to have him arrested. I understand that. I have children. I love them. But, I mean, if you're destroying my house to the point that I'm afraid for my own life, I will call the police. I mean, I know they hired a private security firm from what the rumor mill says. And I'm going to go back to what Nathan Hoffman said. If you do not hear it from me, meaning the district attorney, or if you do not hear it in court, there's a gag order. So all these people that are making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars with these crazy headlines, I always try to calm things down. I always try to make things make sense, at least the way I see them, or at least the way I see it. And hey, leave me a comment. I love comments. I always respond. And let me know how you feel. I mean, I think it just shows, my husband and I both have backgrounds in social work. That's why we're able to take care of my mother. But, and his is in gerontology, specifically with the elderly. So that's why we're able to take care of her. And we're strong and we're able to lift her and move her and whatnot. But I mean, it's horrible. I couldn't imagine him doing this to someone who was a lot like, my mom was 35 when she would have been 45 when I was adopted. I mean, I'd be turning 50 now. I'd barely be able to help at all. I mean, I have 4 herniated discs in my back and my own health problems. But back to the Reiner case, because I'm kind of flip-flopping between the two. I don't think the parents had much choice. It was deal with Nick's crap or send him to the streets, which they did, and they felt guilty about. And Nick used that guilt, in my opinion. From what we know, I think Nick used that guilt as like a beating rod and just beat his father to death with it. If you watch if you listen to the Dopey podcasts that Nick was on, those are coming in court. He willingly made those statements. I'm a rich white kid from Hollywood, and I won't get in trouble no matter what I do, which may explain why he's confused as to why he's in jail. Rumors from Harvey Levin and Mark Garrigo says, oh, well, he knows he killed his parents. He just doesn't understand why he's in jail. Well, what, do they have exclusive, privileges to go meet with him? Because he's being taken care of by the public defender. Alan Jackson is gone. Now, do I think Alan Jackson was trying to set that up for an NGI? Not guilty by reason of insanity? I think that's what Alan Jackson was trying to set that up for. In California, I saw Robin Drake on Tony Bruschi's show, Hidden Killers. It's a great podcast. They have a podcast like on Apple Podcast stuff. Then they have a YouTube channel. They also have a Substack. He's got excellent experts on. And, Robin Drake talked a lot about wound collectors and how they will use that to attack people that are, especially if they are empathetic and kind. And they will just take their wound stick from, oh, you didn't show up at my 4th grade, dance, and you didn't show up here, and you didn't show up, and they'll just beat their parents or siblings or wife to death with that. I mean, I think that's going to roll over into the Michael McKee case, who killed Monique, I do apologize, Monique and Spencer Tepe. Kind of combined Monique and Tepe and got Monette not right. I do apologize. It's Monique and Spencer Tepe murdered in their own home with their children and their dogs sleeping in the other room. I mean, how horrible. Horrible. Then, it took a little while because they had to track the ex-husband, and he still had the gun in his apartment. Vascular surgeon. Someone real smart. Obviously doesn't watch a lot of true crime. He did a Kohberger. He turned his phone off and he left it in Chicago at his hospital. And you can rent rooms. The doctors have areas they can sleep in. The surgeons. I worked for the OR. I have scrub experience. There's areas that they can sleep in, as well as when I was in labor, there was rooms that my parents could rent in the hospital. So when the baby's about to be born, they can come running. they missed my daughter by a few minutes because I was in labor with both boys. They both almost ended up in C-sections. Well, Noah was almost forceps. Xavier was almost a C-section. My daughter was the only one that was cooperative and came out when she was supposed to with a big splash. And that's kind of how her life has been. But the boys, oh my gosh, I spent so long in labor with them. I pushed 2.5 hours with no, they put oxygen on me, and they're like betadining the forceps. And my dad, now I was adopted, so my parents had never seen childbirth before. This was my first child. So I have my parents and my husband, and you're only supposed to have two people. And my doctor told my dad, because he knew I was an only child and those are my parents, and he knew I wanted them in there, and obviously I wasn't going to throw my husband out. So he told my dad, he's like, just sit there and don't say anything while anyone else is in here, and we're going to pretend that we don't notice you. But when it came time to push, my dad was holding my hand, and when he saw them betadining the hockey sticks, and it's funny, all my kids ended up playing hockey, they had to like almost grab his head and pull him out, and because he was stuck. If I could find like the full box of his baby pictures, he has a hat on, and almost like a little baby hat on in almost every picture. Well, he was born in October, so one, it was cold for a baby, but two, he had like a smashed in part of the side of his head. It has normaled out, I mean, most babies from that generation have flat head anyway in the back, but his was like on the side, and they talked about putting him in a helmet if it didn't, but he sat up early. Most of my kids did everything early, especially considering they were preemies. But, okay, enough of that. My heart breaks for Monique and Spencer Tepe's two children. He worked, he spent a lot of time helping out with big brothers, and he has a little brother who is now an adult, and I believe the man became a doctor. And Spencer is a huge thing in his life, and I find it sickly ironic that the only father that his son's going to have, I think he had a boy and a girl, but they're not going out of their way to say. I know the 4-year-old, I believe, is a daughter. I'm not quite sure about the youngest, but they have a big sisters program too. But aside from like grandparents and aunts and uncles, I mean, the closest thing they're going to have to parents could potentially be big brothers and big sisters, which thank God Spencer, was a big part of. And what a blessing that he brought to other kids' lives. And, they seemed like such a happy, kind couple. And to murder them like that. And then you have to wonder, did he shoot Spencer in front of her and then just terrorize her, threaten to kill the kids, make her beg for her life? I mean, we don't know what happened. The thoughts that play through my mind when you're dealing with someone as sick as McKee that was stalking her, I don't know. They're keeping a tight gag order on that too, but that case is moving along a lot quicker than the Nick Reiner case because they're trying to play games with competence. It doesn't matter if he's not competent right now. Lori Vallow was found not competent twice. And, oh, sorry, I'm looking for my next stick. My husband tossed it to me, and I don't know where it is. Oh, found one. Hold on. But, I think it's tragic, and I think that poor woman was so scared of that man. I think Spencer was beginning to get scared of him too, because there were things about them leaving the Ohio State game, and it was like a playoff game. I mean, I live in Michigan. We're big Michigan fans, but we root for State if Michigan's having a bad year. My husband likes Michigan State basketball. He was a big Tom Izzo fan, or Izzo. I forget the pronunciation, but, I have a lot of thoughts on the Tepe case and on the Reiner case. And like I said, the Reiner case, everything's under gag order. They even sealed the autopsy reports. The only rumors that I've heard that I think might be credible is that they say it's one of the most brutal crime. I mean, I think of those poor people. Same thing like with the Tepes. You wonder, did he make her beg? What happened with Nick and his parents? Did he jump on his dad and start stabbing him? And did Michelle try to help? Or did he attack his mother first? See, I think he would have gone after his father first because his father was bigger, even though, I mean, the man was almost 80 years old. He was 78 years old. You know, fighting a 32-year-old, especially when you're asleep. But I don't think there's any way they were stabbed like that and stayed asleep. I think they're gag ordering it so there is not a massive public outcry as this thing slowly creeps its way through the court. I hope he enters a plea. I don't think the public defender's office is going to play the games that... And Alan Jackson is an excellent attorney. Not saying he's not. I think that they got the right verdict for Karen Reed. I watched two other cops, retired NYPD detectives. Duty Ron is the channel, but he's got Ed Wallace, who is a CSI, first grade detective CSI. And, you know, like Ed said, the evidence that they quote unquote had, like these cups of blood, he's like, that's not how you collect it. There was no crime scene. And then they just blew everything together. I love this. Instead of bagging everything individually, no, they just blew it all together, like all the cups with a leaf blower, and threw them in a garbage bag, and then took them in and tried to get CSI to, you know, the crime scene to deal with it. And they're like, we can't touch that. We didn't gather it. And you have everything in one big giant bag. So they had like no evidence. In terms of what happened in the Karen Reed case, I don't know. I'm not God, and I have no idea what happened. But I don't think they had the evidence to convict that poor woman of anything other than drunk driving. And the fact that they tried to bankrupt her to do that just kind of makes me sick. So I do like Alan Jackson, but he is dramatic. So, you know, that's the way it is. Oh, well, now I hear my husband and my mom. So I have to go. I have to go to the store, and then I have to try to find someplace to go get classes. So anyway, like I said earlier, because I'm going to end up cutting this into shorter videos, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. So I have not been putting up videos because I was working my patootie off. I mean, I was working my butt off and just coming home and passing out, you know. Have not had time to post. So I am getting back in the swing of posting. So I hope everybody will subscribe. I do deal with family dynamics, and I also deal with true crime. So you know, my channel covers a lot of different things, but that kind of coverage is what's going to help me with the Nick Reiner coverage, because clearly the family dynamics were all off there. You know, like my husband is a very permissive parent. I'm an authoritarian parent. My daughter was telling us that when she was in high school. She's like, well, we studied parenting. She's like, and you are an authoritative parent. Dad is a permissive parent. You know, dad will let them do anything they want. I don't. It's like, oh, you need to do this? Why? Do you think that's a good idea? You know what I mean? Like, I don't just say, oh, sure, you want to do that? That sounds like a great idea. You know, I look at can you afford it? What's the top? What's the bottom? You know, I'm one of those people that I like to know what's going on. And when you want to, you know, if you're one of my kids and you want to act foolish, well, I'll give you my opinion on how foolish you're acting. Arguing with two of the three kids right now I'm arguing with. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm taking care of my mother. They can't be bothered to come see her. Ask me how I feel about that. Because one of them's 16. And I can go show up over at his brother's house and be like, he ran away. He was allowed to stay 2 days. He was told to be home Sunday. It has now been 9 days, 10 days. And I'm getting really, really annoyed. So, you know, I'm about to have the police go drag his butt home. You know, that's where we're at right now with that. You know, I need help with my mother, and I need emotional help. Like, you know, that is his grandmother. And my mother has bent over backwards when I have herniated discs. I was laid up for 3 years in pain. I couldn't work. I couldn't walk. I couldn't cook. I mean, I could barely take care of myself, let alone my kids. And my in-laws were busy. I believe at the time my mother-in-law may have had cancer. But even if that didn't coincide when she had cancer, we didn't get support from their side because they had 4 other grandkids that they care about way more. And that's fine. Mine are the only ones that carry their last name. You know, my daughter's going to get married and change it. And telling the boys, change it to my dad's last name. He didn't have a son. But, you know, that's the kind of nonsense I deal with in my personal life. So when I look at cases like the Reiners, it just breaks my heart, because under California law, it's like, yeah, let your kids starve. And then you can, you know, get the doctors to get him on a conservatorship. It lasts 1 year. And as long as he improves, because under a conservatorship, they can make him take medication. It's not the same type of conservatorship Britney Spears had. That was about financial stuff, and that went on for way too long. Same thing with Wendy Williams. There's a lot going on with those. But this was a 1 year conservatorship done by the doctors, and it can only be redone by the doctors. So it left the Reiners out in the cold. And I mean, as a parent, what are you supposed to do? If you're a parent, leave me a note in the chat about what would you do if that was your child that was mentally ill and on drugs, possibly a threat to you or others, but the police won't do anything unless he's currently actively a threat. What would you do? I don't know what I would do. And I'm not throwing shade at the Reiners. They are victims. But I think that they loved their son. I think they proved over and over they loved their son. They sent him to rehab 18 times. It's just heartbreaking. It really is. And I don't know what they could have done. You know, I watch people that are a lot smarter than me try to figure that out. But, you know, no, I'm not. So if you feel like I'm attacking them, no, I'm not. They are victims. I wish that they lived in a state where they could have gotten more help for their son, you know, because Nick needed the help, and he can't be let loose. That man is dangerous. I mean, his poor sister, Romy, who found her father, can you imagine? She ran out of there so fast because she didn't know if he was still there. I mean, the fear that poor girl had, she probably has nightmares. And then people are like, oh, are they going to pay for the defense? Blah, blah, blah. Like, first of all, if someone pays for the defense, like Bill Gates could come in and pay for it and hire someone like Alan Jackson. But the attorney has to disclose that to the client. The client may say, no, I don't want that person paying for it. I mean, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we will never know because Alan Jackson cannot talk about it. And Mark Garagos has talked about this with Reiner, and there was a really good interview between the two of them if you guys want to look it up. And he said, they were talking about Koberger and Mother in Time, will Ann talk about it? And Mark Garagos was like, no, because the client holds the privilege, and that privilege goes on past their death. So even if they're dead, you can't use their stuff unless they give you permission. And an example of them giving permission is if you go over to Defense Diaries. That's another great YouTube channel with Bob and Allie Mata. Bob Mata's father, Bob Sr., was the attorney for Gacy. And Gacy gave him all the audio tapes of the trial prep. And so that he's been able to use that because they had permission from Gacy. Had he not given them permission, they couldn't do anything with it. But because he did, you know, they're able to play it, to talk about it, etc. That rarely happens unless you're talking about serial killers, and that's because they want their story out. I still don't think Koberger's ever going to talk. My husband, he's like, well, I just want to know why he did it. And I'm like, it wouldn't make sense to you even if he told you, because he's nuts. But anyway, I got to run. I got to go to the store, get some Red Bull, because, like, I need it, right? But it's going to be, it's my husband laughing. He's in here putting my He's in here putting, I'll turn the camera around so they can see.
I just want to revel. I'm just going to revel
yeah,
in it.
My toes, it's in.
Hey, I'm just reveling in it because I'm going to go, hey, I don't want to do it. I just want to revel in it. Like, I got you.
I am so ticklish. And there was this one day I was just laying in bed and he pounced like a cat on my feet. He was holding them both. I was like, ah! Screaming. And he's like, I just want to revel before I tickle. I'm like, you tickle him. I'll kick you in the face. I am so ticklish. Oh, well, because I'll pee my pants. I just need it to stop. But anyway, I'll be back to talk more. But now I'm not even sitting upright. I've like slouched more and more as this has gone on. But anyway, I'll be back later to talk about the Reiners and talk about Dr. Michael McKee, the vascular surgeon that is now in county jail in Ohio, about the Tepe case. So I will be back after I hopefully get an eye exam. I've had to cancel 2 appointments. They don't take my insurance. I don't know what I'm going to do. All right. Thank you much. Have a great day. And remember, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.